Broadcast is live.
Now I gotta
Oh,
behave.
we are here. Okay, so now I'm going to bring up Linda because I've got Donna in the background.
All right.
Hi,
See,
Linda. Can you
you'll
hear
get
me?
used to this. It doesn't take
Yeah,
long.
I'll learn this stuff. I'll be like one of them pros.
Mhm.
Okay. Can you hear us, Linda?
Yep, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay. All right. So, Linda or Carrie, since you two are new to this kind of thing, if there's something you're working on and you want the group to help you kind of figure out or brainstorm something, let us know, whatever it is.
Cool.
Very
Gotcha.
cool.
hmm
Okay.
So
What do you got,
basically, we
Carrie?
are here to brainstorm,
Yes.
or in my case, half-wit.
Yeah. Because I'm going on Warrior's Honor like crazy. And I've got another ghostwriting project I'm working on. Plus the second one for Obsidian Hearts, Linda and I are working on. So, and her internet is sucky. So we'll see if she pops in and out.
Okay. All right.
Mm,
But that's what I'm working on. And mine are, I don't have any more brainstorming I need to do yet. I've had little things like I need the name of a hometown or I need the name of a hero, but I've got that for my reader group. So I'm good there.
Yeah.
So Carrie, like I said, if you've got something that you wanted to work on, this is your chance.
Yeah, no, I think I've got a handle on mine. I've got the guy I'm doing. It's a romance, and
Okay.
it's time travel, and so I've got the guy in current times,
Mm-hmm.
and he's one of the guys on a bachelor party trip. The groom wanted to play cowboys in Deadwood and go where the Wild Bill, go where Wild Bill was. So that's kind of them.
Okay.
And she's coming through Deadwood on her way to San Francisco, but she's stopping to work with the newspaper in Deadwood.
Okay.
But she pulls into town on the stagecoach, and the stagecoach driver's like, basically, which whorehouse you going to? And she's like, that's not what I'm here for. And he's like, nah, you got to be here for that, and drags her into the gym. So,
Oh Lord.
so
Wow.
yeah.
You can definitely
I'm
do.
the new school board. No.
No, she's working. She's
By
getting
day.
some typesetting in the
Newspaper office.
in the
Yes, that's
newspaper.
all
So
it is.
yeah. So I did
Yeah.
some timeline research of when things happened in Deadwood, and
Hey, Linda. We got you back,
And-
Donna. Linda's internet
Welcome
is sucky.
back.
She's out.
Oh,
It happens.
survive.
It does. Yep. She's down in Tennessee on top of so. her internet-
Yeah, well, sometimes it's not even the internet. Sometimes it's your computer just doesn't have a fast enough processor. That's what was the
Yeah.
problem of mine for
For
so
her,
long.
she's got to use a hotspot to get internet.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Even doing
Okay.
online video shows, it's just really rough on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The things we do to keep writing.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Right?
oh man, yeah.
So Carrie, was it difficult to? Did you have to do a lot of research into the time frame of typesetting as well?
I haven't really gotten into much of that. I'm just like a couple chapters in. But I had to do some research to try and figure out how to get her from Philly to Deadwood without it taking like a month because
Yeah.
Mhm.
wood on a stagecoach. So she has to take the train for a big chunk of it, and
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
yeah. So she'll take a train through Chicago and as far as she can go, and then she'll hop a stagecoach from there to there. But I mean, it starts with her coming into Deadwood on the stagecoach.
Mm.
Oh,
So-
so the elapsed time to get there is really not a problem.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
time lapse, and she just says more than a week. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
all
no,
kind of.
Part of what took me with Warrior's Honor is because I wanted it to start so my main character female and a secondary male character get to know each other like brother sister, like best friends, right? But he's not hers. And I wanted that connection to be made, but the story wasn't moving along. It was like, okay, I could read it or I could put it down. That's not my books. You pick up my books, you read my books, and you don't put them down. I didn't want it to be slow and I didn't want it to be mediocre. So I had to find a new place to start it. So now I've lost that that camaraderie, that brother-sister bond. But now I can figure out how to put it back in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, where I was stuck on mine was trying to figure out. I had this beautiful opening scene, and it was entire action, and then I threw away about 1,000 words because I decided no, that this is not some training exercise like in the village or something from the prisoner.
Mhm.
It was just a random thing that happens to this guy, and it happens a lot. And all of a sudden it came to me that, yeah, hey, okay, he stumbled across something earlier, and somebody's trying to get back at him, and accidentally he slept with somebody else's girlfriend, and he got really pissed and put a contract out on him, and it's Europe, so, you know, you've got
Right.
the Sicilian mafia and the Russian mafia and the CIA,
Mm.
a bunch of other alphabet agencies. And he's just basically a pilot that is capable of doing some of these things and winds up in some weird situations. And I finally got him to. He's asking, should he retire? I mean, he's already 40
Mm.
in a profession where most folks don't live that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
So
writing
his handler tells him about some little shop that they've got down south, and says, why don't you just go down there and hang out with these guys, or you just check in from once in a while and get a normal street job and things like that. You've got your
Mhm.
retirement, you've got your VA pension, you've got you'll be getting a small paycheck from us. You be set up, but just pretend to be a normal guy just on the street. And
Cover job.
Yeah.
Cover job is what they used to call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's got no assignment. He's just looking into the possibility that they actually have a retirement plan that doesn't involve body bags.
Yeah.
I can bring up
Hi,
comments.
Trish.
Sorry, Karen. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just playing with
Oh,
buttons.
that's quite all right. That's quite all right.
So Trish says, good. I actually do have a question on something I'm toying with. Do you give the mythos out right away, or do you let the readers find out naturally? In my books, I sprinkle it along because I've always been told or warned, watch out for the info dumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An info
Yeah.
dump, I don't want it. I've read them before. I've read prequels that leave you going, well,
Yeah.
we're gonna have. Just tell me as you go along. So that's all.
That's usually the best plan. And if you emergency need an info dump, make it a little bitty one and put it in conversation.
I was going
Yeah.
to say,
Yeah.
conversation between your characters.
Yeah.
Don't let your narrator do it. Let the characters ask each other questions.
That's what killed the movie, the early movie Dune for me, is they have a 15-minute introduction where they talk about the mythos, and by that time I was like, yeah, what else is on? So I never got to the actual movie. I just like, no, thanks anyway.
Well,
And I suddenly noticed I had the microphone still up beside my head, so now you might actually be able to hear me pontificate. So,
well, that's the thing. Carl, mentioned Dune. I've never been able to read the book for that very reason. I started a book a couple NaNoWriMos ago, where part of it takes place in Atlantis, and I was a little dissatisfied with it, and I got through a first draft, and it took me months to figure out what it was, that I had spread out my info dump of around 60 pages and given all this deep background into the Atlantean way of life, how they survived, how they got down there, and blah, 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 and blah being the operative word. I mean, it was some good interaction, good setup of relationships, but then I thought, why not just have my gal wash up on the beach somewhere? And we'll take it from there, and we start then with personalities rather than hoping everyone falls in love with this world that I've spent months thinking about. So,
Yeah.
and they can find it on their own. And if I write sequels, then I'll put that stuff in there.
Right.
I've already got it written, so I'm done.
Yeah, because people don't fall in love with worlds; they fall in love with characters.
Yep.
Pretty
And
much.
and for Trish, I'd say, get them hooked on one of your characters first here, and then
just
leak
show
out
the
their
abilities as they are used in the plot.
Yeah.
You're right.
As the situation demands it. And
Right.
if somebody needs an explanation, then you drop in a little conversation, 3 or 4 sentences that goes, oh yeah, I can do this. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Look at Dracula by Bram Stoker. Dracula actually has a panorama of abilities and weaknesses that didn't make it into the movies. Like he can, it isn't sunlight that kills him. It's things like that. But Stoker did it in about 3 sentences in passing as they're describing Dracula. You say it, you move on, and you've got and the thing is, Dracula didn't even use half of the stuff that they mentioned.
Right.
So, but yeah, if you have to do it, hit it quick and just move on as quickly as possible. I think, and also, I would say in the case of vampires, unless you're doing something that is radically different from what we know about, let's call it traditional vampires, most of which came from the movies.
Right.
Just mention it, hit it, and if it's not if it really doesn't influence the rest of the story, then I would say don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't move the plot, you don't need it.
Yep.
Yeah.
If there's a
Donna
reason
was-
for them to use it, I mean, if there's a reason for a character to use that ability, then have them use that ability, and then if somebody asks them about it, then they can
Yeah.
explain it. But otherwise, there's no
And
need.
you can always save something for the next book.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's the thing about world building. You don't have to use it all,
Yes.
but it's there whenever you need it. You just go, oh, wait, what did I make? What did I decide this was? Okay, let me see what I can say about that and not bore everybody.
One of the best things I've ever heard is you will have more details in your own mind than that book ever sees.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're doing the research, you're jumping down that rabbit hole. Maybe you've made a map for your world, but it never put in your book.
Yeah.
You just need it so that you can describe things your own way.
Right. It's like,
the reader never sees that map.
yeah, it's like a character's backstory. It's like, I have this whole backstory of stuff that happens in this historical that I'm going to do that, like, I know all the things leading up to the event that catapults the main character out of her town. And the book starts when she comes back 4 years later.
Yeah. And
Oh, we can only hope there's 1,000 people watching.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Or the same people see this 10, same 10 people see it 10 times.
absolutely. So if you know a friend,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they'll
really.
tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends.
Like, share, subscribe.
Yeah.
And,
Well, really,
And
this is only the second time we've done this, so
Yeah.
people don't know about it yet.
right.
Word will get out. Word will
I'm,
get
hoping,
out.
I'm hoping for more people like Carrie that will jump in and say, hey, I need that. That is exactly what I need.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
Trish here in the comments, you don't want to be on camera or can't be. That's fine. Ask the question.
Yeah,
You know,
really.
Like
We were talking beforehand. Donna was saying something about she was writing about dragons. She thought, she had broken some rules.
Oh, I know I did.
And the same thing can be said about the vampires because people will say, oh my gosh, you can't do that because Dracula couldn't do that. Well, I'm sorry. None of that stuff existed before Stoker put it out there.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it existed in folklore, but to be actually in written format, it never was there
Right.
until Stoker put it out. And then other people added to it and maybe subtracted to it in some ways.
Mermaids. Come on now.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
gonna
Yeah, exactly.
I did a mermaid, and
or
I did a mermaid, and they were based in Seychelles. And so my friend was like, you are going to make her black, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's the ethnicity of Seychelles. So of course she is.
I am now.
I mean,
Yeah.
no,
Oh, yeah.
I already was, because Seychelles has very dark skinned people.
Right.
And so
Right.
Yeah.
Here
There you
they
go.
do.
Yeah.
it would have been stupid to have her not be,
Right. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all that extra stuff that the reader never finds out, and that'll never make it in the book. But you have to do that research.
Yeah, the writer has to know it. The
Yes.
reader doesn't necessarily
Right.
have to know
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Like Linda that was just in here. She was talking about one of her books. The guy reaches over the girl in this train car and puts the window up. Or wait, does he? Does he pull the window down? Which way does the window go on the train? She spent
Mm.
months researching that, and they couldn't find it. She even found the exact club car that would have been used back then, but the windows had all been replaced, so even the curator of the museum couldn't go out to the train car and tell her which way the windows.
Which way they went.
Mhm.
Or if it even opened.
Right. And so
Yeah.
all this information she had to go with just he closed the window instead of he put it up and put it
That
down.
works.
He closed the window, right?
Yeah, it works.
But all
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
research the reader never ever got ever.
Mhm.
Right. Because all they see is he reached over and closed the window.
Closed the
Okay.
window.
Right.
Right.
Let the reader fill it in. That reminds me of one time I was helping someone write a game supplement, and the crux of what the plot hinged on: how did the German, Italian, and Spanish consulates operate during World War II once we had declared war? I spent 4 hours in a pre-internet. There you go. There's a marvelously researched book there. One of my
Yeah.
favorites. In fact. But anyway, I spent 4 hours pre-internet researching this thing. The answer, by the way, is Switzerland occupied each and every one of them during wartime, as is the normal custom.
There you go.
Interesting.
This is the learning place.
Yes, that's Trish just said. People spend thousands of dollars learning what this group is knowledge. So they
Yeah, there's
And
a
sometimes
couple
you-
centuries worth of writing experience.
And sometimes you don't learn anything, and
Right.
you wasted your money.
Yeah, on some of the
yeah
the
there's-
writers' retreats and groups like that you go in.
yeah
Yeah.
writers
Yeah,
write,
I've heard a couple of horror stories, but
you know,
Oh yeah.
if online isn't how you learn, you're not going to learn anything, even though you spent $500 on that course.
mhm.
Mhm.
You know how you learn?
Libraries.
Yeah.
You create a
Like,
library.
seriously,
Is
I have
what
a whole
it is.
bookshelf. I
Mhm.
have a
Yeah.
whole bookshelf of all of my resources. It's like, yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
For
So
sure.
we have a book back here called 15,000 Things to Be Happy About.
Hmm.
Like,
Well, there you go.
That's like a cheapest one.
Sometimes you just need something that you're like, I need something ridiculous.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
These books are great. The thesauruses that have, there's like 8 of them.
Mhm.
And there's like
Ooh.
negative traits, positive traits.
mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
Okay.
The word very.
Ooh.
There's 8 of
Interesting.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
It's a really great
synonyms
series.
for the word "very." That's the one I need.
Yes. Or
Yeah.
So far, it's an
Or-
Encyclopedia Britannica-sized set. But
yes.
Don't get me started on synonyms. Oh, we had a beginning writer once who she could not use the word "said."
Right.
Everybody exclaimed or yelled, or I'm like, no. It's okay to once in a while go. She
He
said.
said. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
having the option to do things that are not said, but she said, he said is perfectly acceptable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It disappears in the reader's
It does.
mind.
yeah, really. Matter of fact, "said" should be the go-to word for
Mhm.
people in dialogue. It's only
Yeah.
when you want to indicate there's something extra
Bigger.
going on that you use a more
Exclaim.
active, a more
Mhm.
active word.
Yeah.
Uh,
And in those situations, I like using like a physical action.
Me
Like
too.
somebody, like somebody might be talking. You say so and so said something, but then say they're playing nervously with a pen or something to kind of cast doubt on whether they're telling you the truth or not.
Well,
Mhm.
Or their
Right.
hands were steady as they spoke. Just some sort of visual to keep the movie and the reader's head moving along.
I heard
Yeah.
what they said, but they never looked me in the eye, so I thought they were lying.
Mm.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's all kinds of tricks.
theory agree that you must write the way that so and so's agent said or so and so's critique partner said. I don't know how many times I've heard that from the new kids. I'm just like, okay, listen.
Yeah.
It's not now. I write in deep point of view. Not everybody does, and it's
Mhm.
okay. Like we can all be writers. We can all be authors, and it's okay.
Right?
You know, there are
And
no.
we can all write the same genre and still be great.
Yeah.
And be totally different at the same time.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you look at like when if you go to any mystery channel on YouTube, okay, and you look up some mystery that you're interested in. Okay, let's say the Mad Gasser of Mattoon, because that's one of the- there might be
Hashtag always promote.
Yeah, exactly. There might be 6 different videos about that, but each one has a slightly different take on it,
Yep.
depending on who is presenting.
Well,
That's
And-
true.
that's a simple.
Well, and some writers go to such detail. Like, I love Robert B. Parker, his Spencer novels, which had been taken. Well, it was a TV series. There was movies, but he goes to great detail on what Spencer is wearing, what he's cooking, and I'm not like that. I only do it when it's pertains to what's going on, such in my latest story. BJ smiles to himself as he sees his usually flamboyant wife dressed in a very conservative pantsuit.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're telling something about both of them in
Yeah.
that respect, you know, that,
Oh, yeah.
that she's flamboyant, but she's dressed down today,
Mhm.
and that he thinks it's funny that she's doing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait till you get to the one where they go back over what happens in the first book, where they're keeping watch over her, and when they go to in front of the Kent City Council, he has her wear the outfit she was wearing that day, which is bare midriff, skirt up to here. And he's like, yeah. He says, and I'm talking to you as a single man, how you could not look at that woman and keep your mind on business.
I like that. That's good.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
Depends on what business you have in mind.
Well, see, if you read my first Hunter's Ridge, you would know that they both walked in on a holdup and prevented it.
Oh.
Because
Available on Lulu.com.
Mhm.
Because she is one smart cookie.
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm doing a very similar
The
thing
very
right
first
now. With,
book.
oh, there you go. There you go.
Hashtag always promote, right?
Yep.
It's up there.
Michaela didn't even see me. Oh, yeah, there. Your name's up there, Donna.
It's there.
I see that.
Sponsoring-
Thank
it's
you.
Sponsoring tonight.
Nice.
Yeah. I
Checks
love
in the
it.
mail.
Mhm.
I'm not
Ah,
some people with fezzes.
Michaela missed a while ago, and I took a swig out of my
I did.
Out of her
my
flask.
flask, my Michaela Jade flask. So
No,
anyway.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. What Donna was talking about right then with reliving that first episode. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm doing a very similar thing right now with my Mad Gasser cheerleader. Okay, he has done some things in the past, and then he thinks back on them, and he's reliving them again. But his memory is 30 years old of these events now. So things have changed, and he's not sure now how much of this really happened and how much of it is his fantasy about what happened.
Have I filled in?
Yeah, has he filled
Yeah.
in? Because
Yeah.
Cool.
as we all do with memory, you know, we'll tell a family story, and then your sister says, "No, that's not the way it happened at all." You're like, "Well, that's the way I remember it."
Yeah.
And
I made a writing contest for my magazine one time. It's just a little short thing. It was all supposed to be flash fiction, So I wrote a 1,000-word piece describing this scene that takes place in this bar, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens. And the assignment for the other writers that wanted to join in, they had to describe the same thing from different characters' point of view.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I wrote did not have to be the main deal with their story. It could have been just something that they caught out of the corner of their eye, or and it wound up with, as usual, 6 different points of view, 7 different if you count mine, of the same events.
That can happen with the round robin writing too.
Mhm.
I remember one in high school, which my friend Teresa Boardman and I were, shall I say, different than the other kids in the class. And whoever started the story, it was a nice little picnic. And by the time Teresa and I got finished with it, it was a satanic ritual with lots of blood, and
Happens all the time.
it was fun. It was so much fun. And our teacher, this wonderful, wonderful lady from Texas, was just so gobsmacked. And she's like, "Oh, the semester's just beginning. This is going to be a fun year."
Why did I ever go into teaching?
Yeah.
Next assignment, I will understand what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Taking different viewpoints in the same story too can be very useful. Brian will probably know the movie I'm talking about with the samurai, where 7 different people tell their event, their view of the events.
Yeah.
Is it
Rashomon?
Rashomon. It's a
Rashomon. That's right. Yes,
Rashomon. Thank you.
I literally pulled up. I had a memory from today that was talking about how Star Wars: The Force Awakens uses the Rashomon concept with Luke and Ben in the hut.
Yeah.
So
Leverage did a very, very clever episode where the 4 thieves was like, "I stole that," and so they each told the 5th member of the group their side of the story and what happened. And it was funny to hear how, oh, wait a minute, that person is that person in their group.
Yep.
And then seeing it turned around and
that was
changing it.
That was in the new season, right? The Redemption?
No, this was in the original.
It was in the original? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This was when they were telling Nate, and turned out that
telling Nate. Okay.
They had all stolen it, but they didn't finish stealing it. It got taken out from them.
Yep.
Before he did Doctor Who, Stephen Moffat did a comedy series called Coupling.
Good show.
Yes.
Hilarious comedy.
I know the one you're talking about. I know the one you're
Avoid the
about.
American version of it.
Okay, yes, please, at all costs.
No.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah. But the Israeli girl, is that the one you're thinking of, Brian?
Yes. With the breaking glass.
Yeah, because during the first part, we hear the protagonist, Jeff. He's trying to get a date with this beautiful girl from Israel.
Yep.
And she cannot speak English. So she's speaking whatever Israeli, whatever she's speaking Yiddish, and he's speaking English to her. And, he's just talking, and she's just, will say these words back to him and like, okay, whatever. And then the second half of the show is from her point of view. Okay. He's speaking gibberish, whatever language he made up at the time, because the actor was really good at that. And she's speaking English. And we get to hear her side of the entire meeting.
Yeah.
And it was a very well done and very well put together piece of cinema for just a half-hour comedy show. It was
yeah.
But seeing those different viewpoints was very important to the story.
Yeah.
And how could he be so great at writing that and so crap at writing Doctor Who?
No.
Donna, I love you, but
This-
we will part company on this.
Oh no,
Yeah.
the war
I think he's one-
begins.
I think he's one of the
This
best
was-
writers on Doctor Who ever.
This was not Chibnall.
No.
This was Stephen Moffat, the one that wrote a Blink.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Doctor
He had
dances.
he had some good ones, but
Yes, he did.
He
Yeah.
had a lot of good.
Moffat just
Yeah.
liked to kill people.
Him,
And
George
that's
R.
why
R.
I
Martin,
liked
what's the
him.
difference?
I mean,
Yeah.
I kill at least one person in every one of my books.
Well,
Right.
you write murder stories, yeah.
Well,
And I've got a remarkably low body count in my books. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
You're not as bloodthirsty as the Viking. What can I say?
I conceal it better.
Now I haven't killed anybody in the current books, but in the
Yeah.
next
young.
book, well, yeah, the day is young. I won't give a spoiler on that one, but on the next book is about spies during the Cold War, and there will be some people who won't make it through to the end of the book, including the main protagonist, who
I love that.
and Michaela's heard the first part of it already.
Yeah.
It starts out with the guy laying on the beach and he's dying. And the last part of that particular chapter is, I wonder if my life will flash in front of my eyes like they say in the movies. And then all of a sudden you're dropped into his early life.
Oh, nice.
So you know he's
Yeah.
dead.
Good.
I mean, because everybody who reads the book will know it's based on a particular mystery in
Right.
Australia where a guy was found dead on a beach.
Right.
So everybody knows he's dead. I'm not even going to try and hide that.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
dies
That
in the
would-
first couple pages.
My daughter read.
That would defeat the purpose. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The title of this book was called "They Die in the End."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
there's
happened?
no mystery to that, right?
Right. Big surprise.
This guy died at the beginning, but the
But
principle's
he
the
also
same.
died at the end because
Yeah.
So I asked her. I said, "You didn't see it coming?" She's like, "Oh, I knew it would happen. I just didn't expect to feel this way." I'm like,
Oh, okay. That's different.
There
That's
you
different.
go. That's
That
well
lets
done.
you know you
Yeah.
wrote the character correctly.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's like, it took me a while to get Carl to quit saying that I wrote murder mysteries. I don't write murder mysteries. They're killed off in the first chapter. You know who did it.
It's like Columbo.
They're murder stories.
Yeah.
Revenge mysteries.
Yeah, I don't do murder stuff so much, but I'm currently exploring the realm of mutilation. So
Ah,
Oh,
nice.
man.
Nice.
Mutilation without death. That's fun. Beth does that in one of her stories.
But how many
Oh,
times
boy.
can you talk about tattoos?
Oh, there you
there we
go.
go. There we go.
That's a familiar book, Donna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read this
I've heard
on a
that.
plane going somewhere. I don't even
Oh,
remember. I had
no.
this on the plane, and somebody was like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Well,
You don't really
Yeah.
put it on your browser history,
yeah."
Yeah.
That's like the meme that says, should we flag this person? They looked up this and this and this." Nah, they also looked up synonyms for the word this and how to structure that and da 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 da. They're just another writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My NSA agent drinks. Because
Yep.
of
How to
me.
spell circumstantial. They looked it up 17 times a day for the last 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing the store of knowledge that we do pick up. I mean, I was studying to be I was going to go into pathology,
very
be a
cool.
medical examiner at one point in my life. And one time I'm in this store and we get to talking about, murder, that we see on TV. And I start correcting some of the means that were used. And they're all looking at me and sort of backing up. I was like, how do you know all this?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I have to say, I do have
Experience.
the best comeback for that.
Yeah. Is there something we can
Yeah.
say here, Dan?
It's
Well, we
before-
could, but it's funny as all get out, and you already know it all. I met my wife in a serial killer chat room.
Oh, that's
So-
right. That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you've been
And
married-
basically, then I have to go and explain. It was an unsolved historical mysteries chat room, and everybody. It was basically Jack the Ripper and other very, very famous historical murder mysteries and things like that. And then I point out, well, I still had to explain to my mother that I met my wife in a serial killer.
Well, Carrie, the others know the story, but when we were first married and had a new house, we were showing some friends around, and John was the homicide detective in Vermilion County here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's looking at the computer room, and he's looking at my books above my computer. Deadly Doses, this, that. He says, this is the exact books we look for.
Yeah.
In a suspect's house.
Yep.
And I'm like, John, if I ever kill someone, not only will you not find those books, you'll not be able to prove that I had them because I paid cash for all of them. No trail.
That's not suspicious at all.
Oh no.
Well, see, mine Deadly Doses is right next to my creative writing. So
Yeah.
There you go. That's
Makes sense.
plausible deniability.
A
Right?
master of disguise,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yes.
Hide in plain sight.
misdirection.
Yeah.
I shall return.
Okay.
Thanks for the warning.
We don't have any more questions in the comments, so what was it that before we came on the air we were going to talk about? I don't remember.
Well, one of the things was that a friend of ours has just now published,
Yes.
and I don't know if you want me to show the book or not on here or not.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Available on Amazon.
Yeah, it's
Available on Amazon right now. Him by Keisha Acuff.
Ta-da.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Good
cool.
cover.
That's a great cover.
Thank you. I helped
I
design
thought you
that.
did. I thought you did.
Seriously,
That is a beautiful cover. Very stark. I like that.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of wanted.
Very reminiscent of the Robert B. Parker cover
Mhm.
of the book I'm reading right now.
And Carrie, you'd be interested that some of these people have a vampire cult.
Nice.
Yeah, they go around and do bad things to people and maybe drink their blood. We're not sure.
They just haven't told anybody yet.
It's not
There's
good.
parts of the book that are still mysterious.
Uh-huh.
So Keisha got this out, and then she went on her show the other night and said, "I've got it out. People can read it now." Oh no, people can read it now.
No, someone's gonna read it.
Oh my gosh. And so she was kind of worried about that. I think she kind of has what I call the post-publication depression,
Yeah.
where now, oh, I've got this book out, and now what do I do?
Now what?
Yeah.
It's like postpartum.
Yeah. I didn't do it because my name's on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
In secret.
See that whole other people can read it thing? That's why I have two pen names.
Oh, okay.
That's
This
why
pen name, I write things where sex happens off the screen. The other one, well, all bets are
all
off.
the time,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay.
That's why I use my real name. I've got too much ego.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, that's me.
I just want to make sure that people don't expect tame and then get raunchy because
Yes. And that's
You
something
know.
that when I first started doing it, and my sister-in-law was like, "Hey, you need to get this published." I was like, "Not under my name, I'm not." What do you mean? I said, "I'm not good enough."
oh, imposter
Mm.
syndrome.
Ooh.
And she's
Ooh.
like, "No, you are." And I said, "No, I'm not." Now, I use Michaela Jade as my pen name. Michaela Jade can do many things. My
Mhm.
alter ego can't. That's the one that, no, I'm not good enough. I'm not, But no, as Michaela Jade, I'm confident. I know what the hell I'm doing. I'm a damn good writer. I've got books
Mhm.
out there that will someday be bestsellers. But yeah, it's just a matter of you've got to get in that mind frame. And for me,
Oh yeah.
with the pen name, I could to and I could say, no, as Crystal, I'm not.
Right. Well, and that, I mean, I have two pen names, and
Mhm.
I'm kind of an amalgamation of both of them as my real me. I mean, this is my real name. My name is Carrie. But like, yeah, my pen names are,
Right.
they're not totally me.
Right.
You know.
Like you said, it's a brand. With that brand,
Yeah.
you expect to get sex on the page. With this brand,
Right.
you don't expect it.
Right. With this brand, they
Yeah.
kiss and they go into the bedroom and shut the door and then fades to black. And
Yep. Speaking of which,
You have someone creeping up on you.
That
your
would be my
stalker has
husband.
arrived. I hope that was
Look out!
scheduled on time.
he's
They got
behind
knives.
you.
Yeah.
He's behind you.
That's right.
Eek.
Oh, he's just reading the book about the mafia families.
Ah,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
It's
Very cool.
giant. It's like a tome. It's huge.
Oh, wow.
Give me that book.
Well, that was Obsidian Hearts before we messed with it. It was 130,000 words. Now
Wow.
it's down to like
Mhm.
110 maybe.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know that
Mhm.
book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 2 inches thick. It's huge.
Wow.
They have big families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who writes big books anymore? I ask you, right? Anyway,
Yeah, that's not very big.
Yeah.
I've been told
I
that
love
before.
big books, and I cannot lie.
Happened.
Actually, I heard it was a humorous sort of horror story at a convention. One writer was talking about working with another rather well-known writer, and he was complaining that this guy writes 500,000 word outlines.
Whoa.
Oh
What the
my.
heck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a 60,000 word book that you're supposed to co-write with him.
Oh.
Yeah,
didn't
no.
Ugh.
He just throws these out there, and they're just looking at him and go, publish the outline. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you need me
At that
for?
point.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I read that John Grisham will spend like 6 months on his outline, and then basically when he sits down to do the finished product, it's basically add a adverb or two because he's got most of the legwork done already. So
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing with these guys. The first guy would have this huge. He would basically do all the world building, and the
Mhm.
second guy would go, "Oh, I like this part here. Let's see how we can tie this to this character and make a much more intimate story,
Mhm.
but based in that huge world."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried to do outlines, but I find that if I start one or if I have an idea of where the story is going to go, it never ever ends up there. Like I was
oh
saying,
no, that's what they're for.
yeah, like the beginning of my story, like I wanted that bar scene where they were talking, they were becoming friends, but it didn't work. It didn't work to make
Yeah.
the story go fast. It didn't add anything to the story.
Yeah.
And so just like with Warrior's Secret, I started in the middle. Or I think what is the middle? It might be the middle. It might be the beginning. I don't know. But it's the scene that I've got in my head that works and it moves the story forward quickly.
Well, my first, I was a pantser before I finally finished a book that I could publish with my real name on it. It took me 30 years, but
No rush.
no rush. Now I got the rest of my life, right?
Yeah.
Planning on living forever. So far, so good. But anyway,
You're on the clock, boy.
yeah, I know. Yeah. No, I wrote this outline, and it was a part of a program that Amazon had where we could use other people's IPs. And also, they would have the original IP owner would have the right to the character, any characters I created. I thought, screw that! I'm not having another Superman thing on my hands.
You're right.
Even though I knew these guys were never going to be Superman. But anyway, I decided I'd kill off all 4 characters. So that in the penultimate chapter, I'm looking at my outline, type. Look at my outline, type. Just go into town. Get to the last chapter. I tie everything up. One guy's still alive. After I planned to kill all 4 of them off. But in the process of writing the we all talk about how we listen to the characters. We become transcribers rather than authors. And that this one guy saved himself. And I thought, you know what, Valiant Comics, if you can use this guy, good luck with him. My God, he's a survivor. He
deserves it.
That's right. He fought to live. So God bless him.
Yep, I find when I'm and I'm definitely the ultimate pantser. I cannot outline worth diddly. So I mean, I know what I want to happen. I know how I want it to start, how I want it in the middle. I know how I want it to end. But that's as close as I can get to an outline. So every time I have tried to tell the characters what they are supposed to do next, they stop talking to me for 6 months.
Right?
See,
They just sit
see?
there and laugh at you.
They
Mhm.
mock you. They're
Mhm.
talking about you
Oh, I
while
had-
you're not there.
I had that happen where one character asked the other one, like, asked him a question. And I was like, that's a good question. So what happens? And the
Mhm.
character just sat back and he looked at me like, you'll figure it out eventually. It took me like 3 months and I'm standing in the shower and all of a sudden he's like,
Yep.
I'm a wolf, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, paranormal was not part of this story. Thank you very much.
Yeah. But it could so
It
work.
is now.
It is now.
Apparently it
All the
was.
time.
I just didn't know it.
Happens all the time.
I had read an article that said the reason that the ideas happen in the shower, because a lot of writers will tell you that. I get my ideas in the shower, is because in the shower you aren't doing anything else. You don't have your phone in your hand. You're not, corralling kids. You're not cleaning the house. You are showering. That's it.
Right.
That's why
And you can do that without thinking.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So now that your brain has that free space, now you can do it. So
Yep.
one of the things the article suggested was, if you have the time, and they suggested making the time. I don't know how you do that, but anyway, make
Add
the time.
hours to the day.
I know,
Yeah.
right? Get an assistant, whatever. But they said take a walk.
Mm.
Your phone at
Yep.
home. Leave everything. Don't take a. They mentioned pager. I'm like, wow, that's an old article.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Leave all your electronics at home. Don't take even an MP3 player to play music. Don't. Just take a walk.
Mhm.
And I'll be damned if that doesn't work.
Every time. Every
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll take the dog and we'll go for a walk. And that's it. That's just me and the dog. It's very quiet. A lot of times I'll do it at night as well. So in our little bitty town, yes, there's street lights, but there's no traffic.
Mm.
So yes, it's dark, but it's not dangerous. So depending on where you live, depends on if you can do that or not. But here, shoot, I'll take a walk, come back and be like, okay, dog, go away. I have to type. Everybody else is sleeping. The house is quiet. I can type. And literally, it sounds like bragging, and I hate to say it, but literally, I can sit down and type 5,000, 6,000 words and not think twice because I'm just typing. Now, later, I'll have to edit half of that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Have
Yeah.
a good chunk of words put down because I had that time to just detox. I had
Right.
that
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
let ideas happen.
Did you ever have one of those times where you're sitting there, everything's flowing, you're just writing away, and you wake up the next morning and you go back to check and see what you were doing, and you've got like 3 times as many words as you thought you had, and you don't remember writing half of them?
Mm,
like,
that'll happen.
Yeah.
Who did this?
And that's
And
why when I
You
write,
still have to edit heavily, but
I have to go back and I have to read like at least a couple of paragraphs, if not a couple of pages,
Mhm.
to
Right.
get myself back into the story and back into the mood of the
Mhm.
story
Yep.
Mhm.
to get back on track.
yeah, what
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to do is go back to where I'd started the day before
Mm-hmm.
and do the spell check and everything else like that.
Yep.
And while I'm reading along with it and figuring out where I did things that used a correctly spelled word, but it was the wrong word,
Yeah.
Two
and get
instead
all
of
that
two.
edited back in,
Or
and
incorrect.
then I'm back in the flow of the story.
Mhm.
That's why I often leave when I have to leave my writing at night. I leave in the middle of a sentence.
Mm.
I
Like
have actually heard leave in the middle of a word.
I've
Yeah.
done that too. Yeah, and
Wow.
it gets you right back, or at least
Yeah.
for me, gets me right back in where I
Well,
need
and
to
that's
be.
what I said the other day. It was because it happened to me. Here I was writing, and I was excited. I was absolutely excited, and I thought, okay, stop right here. Stop, walk away, because I'd already been sitting here for a while, trying to make it happen. And it didn't happen, and I was like, okay, now I'm excited. Walk away, because when you come back to it, you're just as excited as when you left to sit down and do it again.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But yes, outlines or suggestions or bullet points. That's pretty much. I think that's what happens when I write. I don't ever make the bullet points. I don't make stars next to each idea. But that's kind of what happens. I handwrite it out first, and then I'm like, okay, this is the track that I'm going on. This is where I need to go. And then they just kind of tell me what to write.
Yeah, I had an author I asked, do you write from an outline, and do you ever deviate from that outline? And she's like, oh yeah, I outline the whole book and I never deviate. And I'm like,
How?
Yeah.
do your characters not live and change
Yeah.
on you and
Yeah.
express their own opinions?
Are
I
your
mean,
books good?
apparently
Evolution
they
is
are.
a
She's
thing,
a very
you know.
well. I mean, she's got a lot of books out there, and she makes a living at it.
Well, and that's
It doesn't say they're good.
Oh no.
But that some authors can put out 7 or 8 books a year.
Yeah.
Must
Oh,
be
yeah.
nice.
Following their formula, yes.
Yeah.
Follow a
it.
formula.
Yeah.
I think Lester Dent had the best formula,
Mhm.
mostly because it is very, very generalized.
Yeah.
But it's out there somewhere. Lester Dent's the perfect formula for writing the absolute perfect pulp fiction story, and
Yeah.
it applies across genres because he wrote all kinds of different genres because he was basically making a living off of throwing words at a piece of paper and seeing what stick.
Yeah, he was one of those
Mhm.
guys that like Max, Walter Gibson were beating typewriters to death with their fingertips. Dent was literally writing a novel every other week. And
Yeah.
I use the Lester Dent master plot in my own work, and he talks about in the work that every time he uses that framework, he sold the story.
Wow.
I have found the exact same thing. Every time I use that thing, I can place that story. And it's good. And mostly it isn't like, okay, you have to have the bad guy throw a punch in this one by page 28. You have to have this happen by page 39. It's more like, here's when you start the story and you go to the next quarter of the book, here's the stuff you need to look out for and make sure it's different than what you did in the first quarter. And it's and like I say, I don't like to say it's a formula. I like to say it's a framework.
Yeah.
And it's very flexible, like Dan said.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's not incredibly do this.
Yeah.
It's this is where you get the characters established. This is where you get the action established. This is where you bring in the villain. This is where the good guys take it on the chin.
Right.
This is where the good guys come back and almost win. And this is where the villain almost wins, but the good guys come back through in the end, or something like that, basically.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's like
really
a 5-act play.
And if you have a critique partner, that's where the critique partner comes in and says, well, because you didn't have A, B, and C in chapters 2, 3, and 4, you can't use X, Y, and Z here. So that all goes back to, if you planned it, you should have filled in all that information there, because that's one of my critique partners and I just went through this. We wanted to spice the story up a bit, and we said, well, if we want to do that, then we have to go back to the previous chapters and make that love story a little more intense in those chapters, rather than, it just happened here, because it's not realistic. It's going to pull the reader out of the story. You have to have that backstory, but it didn't take much. It took a sentence or two here, something or here or there happened. It wasn't, we didn't need to add a chapter. We didn't need to add whole paragraphs sometimes. But you had to add those elements for the next chapters then to follow suit.
That's the first time that I ever killed off a character in a story. And it was totally unexpected that it just so happened that I came to that point and I go, wow, he wasn't that big a character. This is not going to mean much to the readers. So I went back and I fleshed his character out a little bit and added a little bit of foreshadowing. And just, a sentence here, a sentence there, just enough to make it more so that when he finally, but the big one, it meant something to the reader.
Right.
It was not just another cardboard cutout get knocked down.
Well, and that's why I put my foot down so hard with the publisher for Secret, because they made me take out an entire chapter of one character, and it was Cassidy's uncle. There was a whole chapter from his point of view, and they were like, no, you can't use him. You can only use her point of view and Hawk's point of view. That's it. So I had to figure this out. That was their rule. 2 points of view, and that was it. The main character, the hero, and the heroine. So I went back through and I deleted that chapter, But that chapter is the one that made all my ARC readers say, "This guy dies, right? You're going to kill this guy, right?" So I'm
Yeah.
like, how do I make him to be that passionate that readers are like, "This boy needs to die. Like, he's an evil person." How do I bring that evil in without using his point of view?
Right.
So right there, I had to challenge myself. Very first book out the gate, I have a challenge. How do I make this character into the evil that he needs to be to make the reader say, "This boy needs to die"?
Right.
Somewhere in the back of my backlog files, I have something that was written intentionally with 5 narrators,
Oh, wow.
5 totally different points of view,
Wow. Okay.
and it comes together like 4/5 of the way through, where the points of view converge, and then the separate endings come out.
Written well, that works.
Yeah, written well. That was back when I first started. I have yet to complete that one, but I know exactly what it has to be.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting till I become a better writer, and I've seen signs of progress. So
I don't have time to wait for that. I just got it now.
No. But there was a whole other chapter that they were like, "Yep, that's not in their point of view. It's got to go." Now that one wasn't as pivotal. That one wasn't as one that I had to try so hard. But I was also like, "Well, how do you get that guy's opinion in here then? I wanted his opinion." Nope, not allowed. Now I can.
And how am I going to set up the next book without this chapter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the most draconian writing rule I've ever heard. A good friend of mine, Jim Beard, used to write for Marvel.com, Marvel Comics website, and he did hero histories. He was told he could use no passive verbs whatsoever. If he even used one, they sent it back and said rewrite.
Holy crap.
Wow.
It could be why Jim Beard's such a great writer, too.
But yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I try, but I haven't gotten that sexy yet.
I think that was one of the hardest things with Keisha's book. Was all of her passive words, and trying to figure out how to make them. Oh, wait a minute, okay, how's this going to do in order to be active?
But in the end, it came out okay.
Yeah.
Oh
When you're first starting out, sometimes it is really hard to tell passive verbs from past tense. That is a very difficult trick.
Yes.
It's a very difficult trick pony to saddle up on.
Right.
So,
but as kids, how are you told a story?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, this happened. This story. That's how you're told the story. So even Words of Secret, at one time, it started that way. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away. You know, how we're told the story as little kids.
Right.
Sure.
Grow up that you're like, no, I want to be in this story. But so with Keisha's book, she learned really quick. She just, her hiccup was, I could edit, and she could edit a chapter at a time. So it would have been really slow going. So we got it done. So we worked together, got it done. But yeah, I think she's learned a lot. Or no, I should say, I know she's learned a lot. But some writers just will never get comfortable enough to do their own work as fast as other writers do their work. Like I said, I've got one author friend that she's like, "Oh, I put 8 books out a year." I'm like, "Good for you."
What's it like?
Well,
can you share some of that magic potion?
No
really.
Yeah. Another thing is that some writers will write a bunch, okay, and then they keep writing, and then when the time of publication comes, like maybe for Keisha, I don't know, you pick out maybe something you wrote early, and that may be a mistake. You might want to pick out something that you wrote later after you've honed your craft a little bit to be the first book published. Because I've got a couple of books that I've written that are pretty good, I think, but I don't think they're as good as what I could do now.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the
So-
main reason why I've been sitting on this
Mhm.
a fivefold vision C sort of concept from
Yeah.
way back when. Hey, it's a great idea. I wish I was good enough to pull it off.
Yeah, and that's even secret, trust, and word. As I've gone, I've gotten better. And now with honor, it's even better. And I look
Yeah.
back at secret and just reading the first little excerpt that they've got on the inside of the book, I'm like, oh Lord.
Who wrote this? Because it's crap.
Yeah.
And of course it gets 5-star reviews, which I'm grateful for. My God,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for. But I look at it as a writer, and as a writer who has grown from that point to this point, like, oh Lord.
And I say just put it out. I go by the
Yeah.
Neil Innes,
Yeah.
who's a British musician. He had a line in one of his songs that I've suffered for my art, and now it's your turn.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that said, you have to write a million shitty words first, and then you'll start writing good words. Like,
That's true.
a million? That's a lot.
I don't know that I'd. Yeah, I don't know that
Yeah.
I'd stick with any particular number. I
No,
think
but his
people
idea
do learn.
is
Yeah.
You know.
Some
Yeah.
quicker than others.
Yeah.
right.
And another thing that has often been said: don't be afraid to kill your darlings. You might have this beautifully constructed sentence that has nothing to do with what's going on where you wrote it.
Why do you have a flower in his asshole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a teaser.
My,
Yeah.
My attitude towards those is, okay, I've got a kill file here. Let me save it to that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if it ever comes up again to where I need that beautiful sentence for something where it actually works, I've
Mhm.
got it.
Yeah.
And that's the
Well-
thing. I've heard other authors say that they get rid of the stuff that they've written that they don't think is good enough. They burn it, they throw it away, they delete it. Whatever.
Oh.
Don't do that.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Go back, look at it, and maybe not release it to the public. Maybe not use it, but get inspired from it, or see how far you've come.
Right.
Yeah,
That
Right.
works.
you might
Yeah.
read something that you wrote that it's a great idea, but you didn't know how to execute it quite right.
Right.
So
Right.
you come back to it years later and you go, let me try from the beginning on that again, knowing how I wanted it to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that I actually know how to type.
That was when I submitted Secret. Somebody said, wow, this is a really good story from the publishing house. I was like, oh yeah, I wrote it when I was 12. And they were
Yeah.
like, what? I started writing that damn thing when I was 12.
Mhm.
Well, I wrote a book when I was.
Piece of paper. I remember a Christmas where my family got together and bought me an electric typewriter.
Mhm.
Everything I got, but I got an electric typewriter. And a whole bunch of those like ribbon things, the cassettes that you put in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, I made that book happen because it was my book. And
Yeah.
so
Right.
for 20 years, it was just the book.
Yeah.
Well, my first book I wrote when I was 20. I wrote my second book when I was in my mid 50s. And you talk about killing your darlings. That was part of my trouble, especially as a pantser. You get to writing, you fall in love with the way that your character starts speaking, and then finally you're at this dead end street in the bad part of town at midnight with $20 bills hanging out of your pockets, and you have no way to get home. And
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out
No
where
idea how you got there.
no
Yeah.
idea how I got there, no idea how to get back to safety.
And
And I read
The
this book.
the only way to end the story at that point is to have the main character looking down the barrel of his own pistol,
Yeah.
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 Well,
And
the thing is,
that's not the kind of book I want to write. So
I reread the first book that I ever wrote, and good thinking, Joe. Good thinking. Learn from our mistakes. But no, I
hey,
I
we
read
got
it, and
plenty
there was
of
not
them.
one salvageable idea in the whole damn thing. I threw it away. I would have burned it, but then I'd have to file an environmental impact statement
Mhm.
with the EPA. So
Yeah.
There are some things like that, but most of the
Yeah.
time you can reuse things and you can re-edit things later, like Michaela's story. Okay,
Right.
she started writing it at 12. When did you finish writing it?
Yeah.
well, you were 13, right?
Next week, right?
So
Still at it.
Okay, So when you submitted it, it wasn't in 12-year-old.
No. Well, and when I was writing it, I was not in that mind frame either. I was a little older. So
Right.
Mhm.
Little
and
life
that's why
experience
everybody's
helps.
like, "Oh my God, you wrote this when you were." And I said, "But I started it when I was 12." The very first
Yeah.
book that I wrote, which is
Mhm.
scary. The very first scene that I wrote is the pivotal scene in Secret.
Okay.
So if you've read the book, you know that scene. It's not something that a 12-year-old should be writing or even know anything about. But because of the way I grew up, I did. And
Was that the
Mhm.
uncle? Was that the uncle scene?
yes.
Oh crap! Okay.
Where
Wow.
Oh,
kind of
that
thing.
that reminds me of how I learned not to let my mother read my stuff when I was in
Yeah.
nursery.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
mom's my my mom's my alpha reader. I read as I'm writing because I visit her like once a week and I read as I'm writing, but nothing under my other pen name because I'm not about to drop F-bombs in front of my mom.
Mm,
My mom's mom is very religious, okay? Which is one of the other reasons I went with a pen name. Like she'll never ever find out, right? She won't. And then she sends me a text. I haven't talked to this woman in years. Sends me a text. Hey, I bought your book.
which one?
Uh-oh.
So then she says, there's pages missing. So Amazon had sent her a bad copy. Okay. But I was like, okay, thrill me. What pages are missing? And she tells me the exact pages she wasn't meant to read ever are missing. Like that was divine intervention.
Yeah, that's when you just go, Grandmama. That the reason you didn't go those pages is because God did not want you to have those pages.
Yes, I was like,
Exactly.
contact Amazon. Just let it go.
Yeah.
You
Just let it
just
go.
read the story. That's fine. You were never supposed to find out about it, but whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how Mom is going to go on about this this spy story because this is one of the first times where I've got a main
Pray for
character
us,
that is a
Joe.
multiple murderer as well as having sex. So I don't know how Mom's going to go on about this one, but he's a good guy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I was.
He only kills in self-defense.
I don't know, Carrie, if maybe you've read Kathy Edwards,
Um,
historical romance writer from back in the day. I think in the 80s is when she was writing.
maybe.
But she wrote a bunch of like Native American westerns
Uh-huh.
that were pretty romantical back in the
Right.
day. So that's where the first ones I started reading. And I was like, well, if she can write this, I can write this.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
for what she ended up writing, I didn't know there was a genre for. And so I started telling people about it, and they're like, well, that's kind of sci-fi. I'm like, sci-fi? And then somebody said,
It's not on a spaceship.
well, and then they said paranormal romance, and I'm like, what's that?
Mhm.
None.
Yeah.
When I started writing it.
Yeah.
Pops, what's up?
Go Pops.
Oh, very good.
Very good, yeah.
No, Pops.
Give
you're
it
not
time.
done.
Give it time, Pops. You'll drown yet.
Where'd we put them buckets?
Yeah,
That's
you-
right.
Nope. But yeah, it's
Oh.
definitely a different journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. When my kids were little, I was reading trashy romances, and I was like, that's what they were called, trashy romance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The little Harlequin little books and stuff. And I was reading
Yeah.
those, and I'm like,
Around him, so nobody knew what I was reading.
I didn't care.
Bought his
But I'm
book.
like, okay, I can write that good. That's not a problem. And then I start getting into it and stuff, and then I'm looking at, okay, dino porn is a thing, so anybody can write anything.
We just learned that last year.
Brian's getting excited now.
Dino porn. Yeah.
Dino porn.
Dino porn. No, one time on one of my broadcasts, we were talking. I had done some research into erotica on Amazon, what was selling, and I'm like waiting for the meteor to hit. It's like we have devolved in society that this is what literature has come to. And I was just going through. I was trying to relate my disgust and horror at all this stuff, and I'm like, well, it's probably something like dino porn or something like that. I'm getting original artwork of people drawing dino porn for me now. I'm getting all this dino porn stuff, and I'm willing to let the joke die, and suddenly everybody, hey, Brian, you haven't mentioned dino porn on your shows today.
Yeah, that went on for weeks.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And now it is infected tidbits. Yep.
Yeah, that's back. Thanks, Carrie.
Yeah.
All right. People, damn it. Only the best
I foresee new topics popping up in future green rooms. Actually,
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're
that'll
not Stegosaurus.
happen.
Those are pointy.
Yes.
But I mean, there's lots of room for everybody to.
Oh, lots of room if dinos are having porn.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, really, they do need a sizable clearing in the forest.
I think that Carrie was saying that if those people can write that, then there's plenty of room for good writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you
No.
want. But
Yeah.
if that's selling and selling like crazy,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
paranormal romance or time travel
Yeah.
or sci-fi or traditional,
Yeah.
Hey, if dino porn is selling, then tomorrow I'm starting my manuscript, 2 pterodactyls, 1 cup. You know what I'm saying? I'm there. I am willing to sell out. I really am. So.
right
The
to
egg
market.
and I.
Right to market, my
I
man.
need another cup.
Exactly.
Plant erotica, yes. I think
Why
that can
not?
happen.
Why not?
Believe it or not, I think that's been done.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Poison Ivy and Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
So
Yeah,
you
that's
see,
true.
I hang out with nerds. I am one myself. So I was remembering that Poison Ivy was a character with Batman all the time. And I remember some of the cartoon shows. And I was like, I'm either writing my books or playing with the plants.
Yeah.
Knuckles deep in the dirt. I'm turning into Poison Ivy from Batman.
And you got the right color hair.
I was gonna say, and you're a
Yeah.
redhead.
Now I'm
You're a
gonna
little overdressed, but other than that, yeah. But there was an episode of Batman, the 1966 Batman, where Robin was about to be eaten by a giant Venus flytrap, which of course is detailed in books like this. Which of course I've got a story in. So hashtag always promote.
Always promote.
Yep. Yeah, so I was thinking-
Carl's wondering, how do I get in and turn Brian's mic off on this show?
Yeah. Exactly. I don't have any controls here. Oh my God.
Here. Hey,
Yes. Michaela controls the vertical.
I do. Look at that. I have buttons.
Earlier, Joe was saying that he was glad he didn't do prose
Yeah.
because of all the problems we were talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't have as many troubles with my characters as you guys do. I don't allow them to talk back to me. They do what I tell them to do. No, really.
What's
I'm
it
serious.
like?
It's glorious, I tell you.
I have no frame of reference.
None whatsoever.
Ah. Okay.
This is why we love you, Joe. Joe Name a Fee, 10 o'clock every Saturday night on YouTube.
Well, let's push that count. There we go. All right.
Although now we know what the subject of Joe's next comic book is going to be.
Yeah.
There we go.
It'll be an origin story of sorts.
And this is what I like. And this is what it's like to see somebody else push a show off the rails. Usually it's me. So this is what it must be like to be you guys. This is interesting.
I've even got a title for you, Joe. Just call it Glory Hole and run with it.
Oh Lord.
Carl, do you have a graphic for this?
If he doesn't, he will have.
I think I do. I think
Yeah, you
I
probably
do
do.
somewhere.
Yeah, but
This right here.
The Romanian judge only gave me a 4, so
Okay.
I think it was before
Wow.
his fingers were rather contracted, oddly. So
It's serialized story. Is that what that is?
Actually, Joe does comic books, and I will go on the record, having written comic books and prose
Mhm.
in various lengths and forms. Comics are a lot harder than novels.
I would.
Oh
think
yeah.
yes,
Oh,
yeah,
Because I've got all the room in the world to tell my story in a book, and unless the publisher gives me
A limit.
a limit, a word limit, but usually I'm the publisher, so hey. But
Right.
comics have I
No,
won't
you
say
have to-
editorial, but there's a framework for it too. You can't have
Yeah.
1,000 panels. You can't have like
Right.
800 words per panel, sort of thing. So there's a lot
You-
of limitation. You talk about writing with rules.
Yeah.
Comics are
Mhm.
it.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
comics
I bet.
comics are the flash fiction of the sequential art form.
Pretty much. And the only
Well-
thing I would
You
say
have
is
to
even
pare
harder is probably
everything
newspaper
down.
strips.
Yep,
And
only
those
the
are the kinds of
essentials are
things
left.
that those are the kinds of things that make you write better.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
writing flash
For
fictions
sure.
and shorter
Mhm.
stories makes
Mhm.
your
Mhm.
word count.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I've always found that when I was in a writer group that had, okay, we have a picture, write a story, right? A 3-sentence story about this picture. Or we have a sentence, elaborate on it.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
something like that. That writer groups like that always made me stronger. Because you had to.
Mhm.
You had to think about it and okay, I've only got 3 sentences to tell this story.
Right.
Yeah.
I did.
I think it's Neil Gaiman.
Mhm.
He,
Well,
either him
I
or
used to do
one of
years
them
ago.
like a social media where they post something and they say, okay, tell me a story in 3 words.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Mhm.
a story. Remember that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It might be Barry Jenkins.
Mhm. Well, I remember years ago, I used when I was doing plays, I got involved in something called the Monodogs of War up in Chicago. And basically, they gave you a writing prompt, and you had 30 minutes to come up with a monologue that used that line.
Mm.
And
Okay.
that is tough.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, some of the flash fiction
Yeah.
contests on my e-zine, there was a specific line you had to use, and there were 3 objects that had to appear in the story. It had to be original. You couldn't have pulled anything from your backlog. Go. And it's only 1,000 words long, not including the end and the writer's name and the title.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we had some fantastic stuff come out of there.
Oh yeah.
I bet.
Those are the kinds of things I love to do. I'm in a group on Facebook that used to do. It hasn't done it in quite a while, but it was writing prompts, and it would show a picture and have like a little snippet of something to begin or end or whatever, just a little kind of snippet. And aside from those words, you had to write a story in 300 words or less.
Nice.
Mm.
And
I love that.
and those are the
Something
things
I-
that I love to do that stretch my imagination, that makes me write outside of what I normally write. And so, yeah, they make
like
your
that.
words count.
It's something I
was
also
a-
did. I published a page of narrative hooks. Basically, the opening sentence for a story. That's
Yeah.
all. And people were challenged to create a story around that. And people would use the same ones, but it'd turn out with totally different stories,
Mhm.
which is exactly what you wanted.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the amount of imagination that some of the folks really have access to.
Mhm.
There used to be a writing contest. I don't remember. I think it was one of the writer magazines that had it
Probably.
once a year, and it began with the words, "It was a dark and stormy night," which
Oh,
is
yes.
Mhm.
Writer's Digest, yeah.
Lytton Bulwark contest or something.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
a name
Yeah.
because one of the guys, Lytton, used to start out all his stories with that, I guess, or
Right.
something.
So it's Snoopy.
He was famed
So did
as
Snoopy.
the writer
Mhm.
of the worst story of all time, and basically it was parodied by Snoopy, but
Mhm.
basically the opening paragraph is a dark and stormy night. The rain was beating the street and I can't remember the rest of it, but it went on for like 500 words, and all in the same. And you never got introduced to a character or anything. It was just weather.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Barbara Cartland or novel I'd read years
Yeah.
long time ago, back when I was in high school. I had just seen an article on her on 60 Minutes. And she was like back then like the grand dame of romance writers. And I picked up one of her books. I got a page and a half into it where it was like this elaborate description of what this heroine's having for dinner. And I threw this book across the room and it hit the waste can on the first try. I mean, I've read murder reports. I've read autopsy reports with less detail than this thing. So, yeah.
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 Like, she would detail down to the lace what a lady was wearing to dinner.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's great and all, but where's the story going? Come on, I want to
I don't care about her shoelaces or her dress laces.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When's she going to get shot?
each layer of this dress, and there were points where you'd have to go to the dictionary, because it was back in the day, you have to go to the dictionary and look up what that damn dress looked like. Now, we can Google it, but still, it's like, okay, enough with the dress already. I don't need to know this to move.
I don't need the 17
Exactly.
layers of cloth wrapping around her body. I just need to know she's wearing a fancy dress. Cool.
Yeah. And even blue, tell me it was green and it matched her eyes. You know, fine.
Yeah.
Right.
The only time we care about the 17 layers of clothing that she's wearing is when they're coming off one by one.
Right?
I mean,
Exactly.
Very true.
Seriously.
True.
It really does her boyfriend pass out and nod off before
Well, he pulls out his knife and just cuts the whole damn thing apart.
Whoa!
That's right. There we go.
There you go. Now that's a pirate story right there.
Yeah.
There is a problem solver. I like this.
That's a true bodice ripper.
Yep.
That is,
Yeah.
it is a bodice cutter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a project in 2019. There were 9 authors, and we were each sent the same prompt at the beginning of the month, and we had a month to send in a story. And so we did it for January through December, and then they were published the next year and stuff. Yeah, the small press is doing it again this year, and they're having more, people who didn't do it before do it. And it's really interesting to look at all of these prompts from this same thing, where this prompt obviously meant this clearly to me. And
Right.
8 other people were like, that is not anywhere near what I got from that.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I have always thought that Victorian romances would be a whole lot faster paced if they just had Velcro.
Absolutely.
True.
Well, that's in mine. That was one thing, because I had read Jude Devereaux, a lot of her books. And I kept thinking to myself, well, I got to tell what the dress is made out of. I got to tell what the meal they're eating is of. So I got to know what it is that they would bring to the table. Like, what kind of foods did they eat? No, you don't. Skip it.
No. I do that in some of my stories, but the characters tell me what they're eating.
Right.
I have not the faintest idea. I don't look anything up.
Right.
If they're having a picnic lunch, whatever they pull out of that hamper goes in their face. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's important to the story, like, this is the first meal this person's had in a week, maybe that's important. If the person's a cook in the story, then maybe it's important. Or if they're allergic to something and they've just eaten it unknowingly and they're going to die, that's important to the story. Otherwise, cut it out. Just
Not necessarily now.
well,
It could be just a break from the action.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Carl,
that's the way I use it. Okay,
Yeah.
they just had a fight with this huge army, and now they're going to have a lunch.
Yeah. And Carl, you say if the character is a cook, now in Hunter's Ridge, Carly doesn't cook a lot. So when she does cook,
Right.
it's like, okay, what are you cooking?
Right. And in that
It's-
respect,
yeah.
too, because of the opposite, because she doesn't do it very often, it's a novelty.
It's just like I took one of my own recipes that I make. I make unstuffed peppers rather than stuffed peppers. So I had her doing that, but he's, BJ comes home. He's like, "What are you cooking?" And it's so unstuffed peppers, but without the peppers. And he looks at it and goes, "Oh, so you learned how to make meatloaf?"
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, there was an author that we really like who she is passed on. Her name was Lillian Jackson Brown, and she wrote the Cat Who stories. The cat
Yeah.
who could read
Yeah.
backwards and such. Towards the end of that series, she was detailing every meal and going into detail about, okay, they went to this restaurant, and they ate this, and I'm thinking, this is just filler. You never used to do this, Lillian.
Yeah.
What's going on? I guess from my journalism background, I learned to cut stuff and be vicious. I guess it's why my book is so thin.
Yeah, and I was a journalist too, and look,
You unlearned that, I guess.
I didn't learn a thing.
Yeah.
Learned from editing for several different people. Not everyone writes the same way.
Right.
Yeah. But it doesn't make it wrong. But
No.
nuances with the way they talk.
Mhm.
I just picked that up this last editing thing that I did because I thought, do you talk that way? And then I had to look at our communication through Messenger. Absolutely, they talk that way.
Most
But it's
people
not
do.
how everybody talks.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
pick up speed, you gotta move on. So it just from the editing standpoint of what I've learned. Had I not said, let me edit some stuff, or let me edit my stuff, had I just said, I wrote this, it's good, let's go, I would have learned nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just edited a piece it was a book based on a film. So I watched the film and then I read the book that was written and just made sure that it matched the film. So, when I'm reading it, I'm going, okay, this isn't how I would have written it, but it's not my book. So,
Right. Yeah.
as long as it doesn't deviate from the film, as long as it's grammatically correct, and as long as it isn't, lagging or anything, then it was fine.
And that was the thing I had to tell myself. I was like, wait, this isn't how I write. This isn't my book. All I was asked to do was make sure that it's grammatically correct and that the story flows. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. And, those were the two things besides making sure it matched the film that I had to do. And it's like, okay,
Yeah. Are these clear? Is the writer saying this thing as clearly as they can? Because sometimes I'll get I do editing too, and sometimes I'll get an author who wants to show how clever they are, and I'm like, it's like an old. I read a story about the great Isaac Asimov, who early in his career was talking to his agent, and he wanted to write like somebody else. Like how does Jack London write? About somebody crossing the room, and the agent said he would say, "The man crossed the room. Get over yourself. Just say, just write the thing out.
Right?
Impress the reader some other way."
Yeah, if I have to research every other word, I'm done. I'm out of the story already. And
Right?
it's not I'm uneducated. It's because I'm trying to read a story to escape, not to learn new stuff.
Right. I was
one word or two words throughout the whole story that I had to research, or I wasn't quite sure what it meant, but I could grasp the story without it. Good.
Right.
But if I have to research it to make the story go back to where it was, I'm done.
Yeah. I had one book where I was reading it and I was like, I'm sorry. Did they mug a thesaurus and take every damn word and stick it in there? Because I swear.
Yes.
And going on and on and on and on and on about this one thing that they could have said in half a dozen words. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not going to waste my time reading this book because I don't care. I've given up caring. Like the story, the concept of the story was good, but it could have been half as long and been such a much better book.
Okay.
And it's like...
And another thing with, if you watch how people speak, and they'll put it in their books, especially new authors. If they say things like, which was, or just a catchphrase that you say all the time, but you don't catch it. I'm gonna go here or I'm going to go here. Those are different.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Which is or although or no offense, but I have a cousin that says that all the time. Before she says something, she'll say no offense, but I'm like,
Then I'm gonna get
Really?
offended.
and on everything.
But you can use those to define a character as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
True.
Yeah.
I mean,
In
because
moderation,
if your person says no offense, but a lot, they're probably
Yep.
giving out a lot of offense, and they're probably a very offensive person. And by the time the story comes to that point, your reader knows.
Mhm.
Oh, here she goes again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
All right.
gonna
Yeah.
I'm
open her mouth.
prepared now.
Yeah, brace yourself.
Yeah.
She gonna piss somebody off now
That thing that they read over, like,
again.
she said. They just read it over. They just buzz on by. Yep, she says it all the time. That's just her characteristic.
Sure.
Mhm.
Well, we have been at this an hour and a half, guys. What do you
Yay.
We have no more questions from the audience that we call it.
Okay.
Sure.
I think we've
Yeah.
discussed about everything we can tonight.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we're-
really.
We solved everybody's problems. This is
The
good.
world has now been solved.
Oh, but I didn't get to talk about inventing foreign languages and stuff
Next
from
time we'll do
aliens and
politics.
elves and stuff. But
Hope you've enjoyed this show. Dan will be back in 2 weeks. Nothing
I
but
was-
love, Dan. You know it.
I was about to say, for people that write fantasy, that might be a serious consideration
Mhm, that
because
might be.
Oh, yeah.
That is true. No, you're absolutely
Tolkien
right.
Tolkien did that. So and a lot of
I have a
sci-fi
friend who
writers
Enemy
do
created-
it
Mine.
too.
Enemy Mine.
Enemy Mine,
And,
that was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend
Or-
who created an entire language for her sci-fi
Mm.
series. So yeah.
We still didn't
It's
get
it's
rid of
it's
Andy,
not an
though.
easy thing to do, and it's not
No.
even a necessary thing to do. For most stories.
If we
That's-
could save just one person,
Yeah,
then this show has been worth
It
it.
wasn't Joe D, though. He's not going to write prose.
that's okay. That's fine. It's not for everybody.
Right? Not everybody.
Dibs on the novelization for your comics, though. Leave it to the experts.
Don't go near the van, Joe.
Hey, I'm already on the hook for 2 different comic book series they want me to do novelizations of.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the
Cool.
challenge.
Good. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. This has been only our second time at doing this, so like Donna said, maybe we'll get some more people going on it. And if Carrie, if you know somebody that wants to join in, let them know. I'm going to try and do this every Monday.
Yeah. If it wasn't Monday, I'd be jumping in all the time. But Monday is
Right. Well, and if your other thing gets done early or like tonight, it gets canceled, jump in.
oh yeah.
We can write you a note.
Yeah.
My son
Fluently.
literally sits right there. He'll
Yeah.
know what I'm doing.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll give you a hall pass.
Well, thank you for having us, Kayla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
letting
Very
me
good.
come
Thank
and
you,
play.
Michaela. It's been
Yeah.
a pleasure.
Like next week.
Anytime you need a talking head, just send me a text.
Yeah.